We'll sum it up quite quickly. Sandbox, very sad start to the day. Pretty much as sad as it could be. TSM, a strong opener. However, can they close out the day with the same power? It's down to the Koreans to see if they can, well, show up.
That's it. Can they show up, or are we going to get more of what we had just, well, hours ago at this point? Sandbox, they need to show what they're capable of. We know they're a capable team. They just haven't been able to show it to its fullest extent. It's kind of sad to some point, but that does mean there's still potential for growth on their side.
Well, potential for growth. I mean, it's hard to get worse than the performance they had earlier.
Yes.
It's possible a bandit ban. Okay. I guess it's club. If there was literally any map where you would ban bandit, it's here. It's still... Still not the most common.
No. Bandit tracking,
I would even go far as to describe it as rare.
It is quite rare to see a bandit ban. All Heartbreachers are going to be open on a clubhouse, which is a rare thing to see as well. We're going to have the Thatcher available as well, so as TSM start off, they will be finding themselves into that basement. And the bug is being called out by Static, so I'm wondering if we're going back. Either way, looking at the setup that's currently being made, Merc is just prone in the bathroom. Not quite sure what he's looking for.
It might be waiting for the call on the bug rehost, which we are going to slip into. So we will have one more, hopefully very quick rehost. We're in the game, we're active in the studios, all firing, so this shouldn't take too long. We'll be back in just in a moment. I guess it gives us some more time to recap the pre-game, and let's just and then go back in time. Hi, welcome to the showdown.
Hello.
Sandbox versus TSM.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
One team won, one team lost.
Okay.
A team that lost tragically.
Yeah.
Team's named Sandbox only picked up one round. It was the very first round of their tournament as well.
Do you know who else lost tragically and then made a comeback? Cover your ears, everybody. Cover your ears, everybody. Blah, 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 blah. Spoiler. Direwolves.
Okay, yeah.
The other team that suffered the wrong end of a 1-7 came back and won their most recent game. There's hope.
There is definitely hope. I mean, it's not over until it's over, right? It's not over until that last round is finally played, and there is opportunities for APAC to take wins out here. I mean, Cyclops was able to pick up 2 points as well in both their games. It's not ideal. You want to get a win, but they're not like out of sight of their group as well, right? They still have a good opportunity of fighting back in, and to some extent, if Sandbox is going to be able to find a win here now as well, they're right into the mix.
I like the players pulling faces. Obviously,
yeah.
You know, you
didn't bring the masks this time, I believe.
No masks from the side of Sandbox to throw on. I don't know if they have. I know it was Damon Kia that had the Crocs that said DK win. They're not in, no Crocs.
No Crocs.
They didn't lend them to the other Korean team.
Would be weird if the other Korean team would be wearing Crocs saying DK win.
That would be a surprise. You think they might change the names on it, but I said that one might be a quick one, and it very much was. We're back in now in the terms of rehosting. If a game is in progress, has to be the same site. Defenders have to choose the same operators. Attackers, obviously, since attacker repick came in, they can shake things up if they like.
Yeah, that's it. They can repick up until, I believe it's 3 seconds left on that timer. Yeah. So still plenty of time for them to drone out, see what was going on, and, you know, make sure that that all goes well. We basically see the same thing from Merc. Instantly jumps up that hatch, wants to destroying some of the drones, I believe he wants to. There's only 2 left on the board right now. That is tragic.
Was swift.
Taken out quickly.
Especially as... You know, they've literally just almost dry runned drone.
I mean, you've literally just seen what they wanted to go for, right? So it's like, it's not necessary to send in that many drones, but they did either way, and it means there's only 2 left on Arakazi and Static. And those are slowly being put in position.
Yeah, you can see that MV Taylor's made the way around there.
Jacuzzi.
There's also the control
Yes.
Of Mozzie that might be able to get it. And as you said, the Kaid Claw all the way on the top floor there. It's a tool defense. It's something that became not the most familiar, but more familiar than other things, is sort of getting that full stretch, putting the pressure on. And we'll see if the pressure can actually start to come together. The only round Sandbox took in their previous game today was the first. It was an attack as well. Can they try and keep up tradition, or will they drop even that?
It's a big question. But within 2 minutes and 20 seconds, we'll have the answer. Skillboy droning out the kitchen sees it's going to be clear EMPs to be used. Actually, a double EMP to be used to truly make sure there is no trickery going on from the Kaid. And the opening will be there. Jacuzzi opened up. It's going to allow them to start moving in. Now, there is going to be 2 Capcan traps put down onto the gym door. Bolo actually starting to push up a little bit there. Good boy taken out in the meantime by Gasher, so Sandbox not having the best of starts.
Gasher, yeah, he was just able to get the strike there round. I think that might have been in dirt all the way on the swing. Potentially, they were definitely off. Yep, now that they're there back on the site, it was aggression from TSM here. Sandbox, they find themselves a little bit wanting. One of the things I criticized them about before is sometimes they're a bit slow on their approaches, on their swings, and that's something that TSM are putting the pressure on to. Merc suffers a bit of a scrape, tucks himself around. Bolo goes for the wide swing, gets one, looks for the second, actually pulls back and drops, I think, maybe a drone on the reveal there, but that's 2 players lost, and all they've been able to do is really open one wall. The pressure is here onto Snake. Does he know? No. There's MV Taylor getting the strike, the Nook, and the Nook's going to head straight downstairs.
I mean, at this point, you don't really have the manpower left to truly take care of all these roamers, right? You need to make something happen. Charles still up on the top floor, finds Bolo through the wall. I mean, probably didn't have a drone out there because that was taken out before, but still had an idea that there could be a player out there. So, you know, nothing gained, nothing lost if you fire and you don't hit the shot, but instead finds Bolo, brings it back to a 3-on-3.
Now, Merc, obviously being a loose player here, he has the option to head up and down, and he might not know just how close he could have been to running around and a bit rampant there over the top of bar. In fact, doesn't want to risk it because with 40 seconds left and you assume the smoke gives the reveal of one of the players, and there's Static getting caught out by the next achieved on the 3rd box, has the angle, the kit. It's going to get recollected. MV Taylor doesn't think he wants to take that fight as of yet. He could try and roll a grenade towards that back corner, but it's a very awkward angle to put it down. Opens up dirt, gives them another route, gives them another option and something else to think about. That's going to cut it close, but a bit too close. 13 seconds. Shile, he's driving himself through. They're just going to try and flood their way onto the back of the site. There's the swing. The smoke comes a bit late. The heavy pepper fire from Achieve downs the man with the kit. They have the angle and the idea in the first round. It's TSM's.
TSM from the start already in control there as they were, you know, catching Sandbox up on that top floor and near, of course, the gym. They let them open up the jacuzzi wall after they had some pressure down from the top of garage from Sandbox, which actually forced Bolo to go aggressive towards that jacuzzi wall where he managed to pick up a kill. And Sandbox was able to come back a little bit, bring it to that 3v3. But they didn't really have anything prepared for the site. Like, all of the fighting went on that top floor. Not ideal. And here you see it, Bolo, with that kill coming through. That was due to the pressure being applied from him from the garage roof of Shal, of course. And that grenade actually bouncing back into the pot on the kitchen to camera.
Yeah, that was almost tragic.
Taking cooking to a next level. Cooking grenades, that is. Now, TSM with that very first will be more than delighted with that. Looking to see if they can continue as they're headed towards the bar and stage area. 2 drones again taken out by Sandbox, from Sandbox. They're not really good at containing those drones. I mean, after about a minute of play, there was only 4 drones left in total as well on the Sandbox side in the previous round. So they really need to make sure they keep a hold of their drone economy because otherwise they will suffer in that late round.
You know how we joked and we said it's tough to get worse than what happened last time?
It's definitely possible.
It's still possible, and that's something that's going to be on the mindset. Arakazi does kill Achieved, does get the swap out there. He was holding off on the angle. They want to get Good Boy back up, who almost suffered twice in a row to a player going for an early swing strike. Arakazi has the cover. Very important cover here from the top of the shed. Gets their second kill from it. Snake wanted to see if he could try and slip in and get some revenge there, hoping they'd gone for the pickup and sort of said, they're surely not going to peek it twice. They did. The Koreans were a lot more cautious, and now they have a really good body advantage this early on.
Yeah, and a double approach from TSM not really working out. Maybe not respecting Sandbox enough, hoping that they were able to get away with it. But Bolo will find Shao, though. So that brings it back just so slightly. Good Boy is low on HP as well. And as they start hammering down up onto that top floor, it is that first point that you need to take as an attacker, because we are playing bar and stage. Now, there's two hatches. One is going to be in gym. One is going to be in construction. Both those hatches do offer incredible amounts of verticality that you can use to stop any of these plants from happening. So Sandbox, they want to flush out the TSM players from that top floor, but they're not really getting that granted to them because they're just trying to hold on with as much as they have. Bolo and Merc playing on that top floor with Gasher actually trying to find himself a way into the strip club so he can play those yokai drones a bit better.
There is still a lot of territory that the Koreans have to get control of here. Sandbox are trying to fight their way over the top. It's a two-story hold, always has been. Static on the back line with the kit, it poses that bit of a risk. Obviously, it becomes something you got to recollect. There is a player not too far away. They're hoping to get a catch on the loose player, but Good Boy has to force it. Has to force Bolo out of the position, maybe down the hatch, maybe on a rotate. You can see Merc is trying to hold on as well. The next canister goes. They just push right through it. The procs will give some of the game away. Merc's going to hold on close, and they go down the brick stairs. There's a player coming up on the back end. Static takes the head off for Gasher and realizes, well, they're both up here. Let's go down there. Bolo, in the meantime, is doing Bolo things. Inside construction, one more on the clock and the lock. The pings are coming towards the player. The roll of the Exo... well, Bolo getting a quad kill in the meantime. I was going to say the roll of that causes a bit of a fight, but it's suddenly a 1 versus 1 out of nowhere. They drop down. The bulletproof revealing everything. Doesn't quite get the lockdown. Finally finds it and wants to find a place to put a kit down. The pings are continual. They're over the hatch, over the breach, over all of this. You assume maybe an Echo drone is the one giving the game away. Just sees the angle. Can't quite find it there. Has to get somewhere because at some point it's just going to be a hatch drop. Where do you go? Merc has it all on watch.
The Bolo quad kill definitely helped there, but this is what I told you before, Emmy. They need to take top floor control because, first of all, those hatches give you massive amounts of verticality you can play with, but what about the destructible flooring? That truly helps you as well, and, you know, Bolo just racking them up there.
It was out of nowhere.
I have to point out another mistake, though. The Bolo was playing in construction. The construction window wasn't opened up until, like, the last very moment. It's a mistake. You need to be opening up these windows. Yes, the defenders can swing out of them, but it's pressure on them. They need to worry about someone being on that window. If you leave it closed, someone like Bolo, he's just going to be playing there. He doesn't feel that pressure. He knows that he's going to be safe if he hasn't been spotted. And again, a lot of drones taken out early. And with that TSM, they just rack up their second round.
I mean, I guess that's that sort of frustrating moment from the side there of how much an advantage Sandbox are able to build in terms of the kills and the impact they could have. They didn't have the verticality, and Merc punished it at the end. We saw that. They didn't leave themselves much time to try and get the lockdown there, and with everybody going down, it was Bolo caught the player that was going to watch over the hatch because they swung quite aggressively.
Yeah.
If they had been a bit more passive onto that hatch fight, they might have been able to surprise them. They would have been able to, worst case scenario, try and retake the top floor. Then the two players go down to the drop. He drops onto stage hatch. You assume it was just off our screens. And suddenly, it's a Bolo round.
It is, and it's a TSM round as well. When it's playing on that K, they're just making sure that the wall will be closed for now. There's going to be impacts and EMPs to use. So Arakaze definitely will be following that one up with a double. Actually, first one used onto the garage there. So that takes care of any Electroclaw that could have been up there, or ADSs, but neither is the case. So, you know, that's basically a free EMP for TSM. They don't need to worry about that. And that means that if there's just a little bit of a slip up down Arakaze's side, they're actually going to be able to keep one wall closed for the rest of the game.
Double French for a CCTV hold. Double French for the lockdown. The Rook's going to buy a lot of time for a Doc that's going to buy a lot of time for himself here. We sort of theorized when these two changes came through for those ops where they would be big.
Yes.
This was the main location.
That's it, right? It's a location where you take tons of utility and where you basically need to just muscle yourself through. Having a Doc and a Rook is going to be helping you to stay alive a whole lot.
just a split second too late there. That exothermic, we saw it go down, and we see the breach happens right behind it. It didn't sound like there was the roll of an EMP, so it was just well timed. The break onto the bulletproof on the far end. They're clearing themselves up. It's a step-by-step process, and they're keeping an awareness onto the second step, the fight over garage. Merc wants to try and lean into the argument. He wants to see if he can do a little bit of damage here. He knows he can take at least one down and root around, but what can they do after?
Now, MV is going to be crucial to take control of the mezzanines, having to use those incendiary bolts to get rid of Merc, or at least relocate him into a different position where Static can provide some support. Whereas the Sandbox, of course, needs to lean into that a little bit as well. But Snake, he's in a position to go for a jump out, and I think that's exactly what he's eyeing up at that impact.
I mean, it's 40 seconds left as well. The later he does it, the more impactful it'll be. They drive into sight. Bolo finds one. Static finds Bolo. There's also the body down onside the top. Achieve does get Arakaze, but they're going to have to get themselves back up. There's the take. Do they know where the kid is? It's outside. Do they know where the players are? One's on the rafters. One's top of red, and Shyle is just in the middle of sight trying to find a safe route through. There's the fight he didn't expect. Snake with the P90 sprays, prays, and gets the man down. 15 seconds. MV Taylor, 3 people to get through. He's outside the building and the door. He's able to put the fire into the first, doesn't get the lockdown. And Snake's just going to tuck himself in for what is a third TSM round.
Snake actually using the withstand there as well to pull himself up. But that's going to be a 3-0 for TSM. And actually, I don't know if you saw it, but I mentioned it during the play-by-play there. But they put a lot of fire up onto the catwalk, hoping to get rid of Merc. However, Doc fully heals himself. So what he was doing is just stimming himself 3 times, basically not dying by the fire. It wasn't up until the Zofia actually ran through in CCTV, spotted out that Doc was still down prone onto the actual spot there before he shut him down. So it's something you can do. With the Doc, you can stay alive through fire now, so you need to have that external factor to truly take him out.
TSM complete the perfect rotation across the opening 3 rounds. Sandbox, unfortunately, still showing some of the signs of woe from earlier on in the day. They cannot quite get this full connection with the approach that's being put against them. It's not that there's loose threads in players. They've at least got what seems a bit more of an awareness, but it is club. It's a map where you have a lot of expectations, and to be honest, most teams meet them. They're just not quite as snappy, not quite as sharp as TSM so far throughout this opener. They haven't taken their tack time out. I think if this next round goes against them, we're probably likely to see it.
Yes, they want to make sure to pick up at least 1 or 2 rounds on this attack. Especially with all the heart breachers open, the attack should be favored at least slightly. Think about the Thatcher being open as well. There's literally no reason why you cannot fulfill steps 1, 2, and 3 of any give and take on Clubhouse. It's just the plan to the final execute that make it tough. And, you know, TSM, they are here to make it tough. They are here to lean into the fight. As Goodboy misses the first couple of opportunities to find Snake. He lives, he continues, takes in another drone for his efforts there. Which is, by the way, this time a little bit better on Sandbox's side. Oh, whoops. Gets it in the end.
He gets it in the end. I mean, he's had more than enough of a round in the game so far. He's sitting 5-1. He's been able to really throw himself into these rounds and engagements, and Achieved is doing exactly the same thing. He puts himself a pace ahead. Shyle is able to find Bolo, but Merc very quickly gets Good Boy, who really hasn't been able to have a connection with the whole day. Unfortunately, a huge gun and gunner. And we want to see him on the international stage, but his first day here, at least, has not quite been that way.
Still an opportunity to redeem themselves here as Arakaze takes control of Strip. However, again, it is only the top floor. They need to go down towards the basement, Emmy. They still need to clear out the complete first floor before they can even start about thinking of attacking that basement. Luckily for Sandbox, every single player of TSM is active in that basement. So if they have some...
Whoops.
That's unfortunate. If they have some good drone work, they can definitely move through this floor quickly and instantly put up some verticality, maybe even find a way to open up the hatches if you do not want to take too much, well, risk at doing so.
Once again, time is becoming that factor for Sandbox approaches. They've only just got the control over the top floor here. It's taken 2 minutes, and they still have to put pressure onto the mid, let alone the site itself. They're trying to speed things up. You have to look at what's been taken out of them, though. They've at least lost some of their hard destruction. They've lost the gunner Good Boy as well, and the chance with those grenades to roll them in close, there's at least one more. But if you're trying to cut close on an angle or put the pressure on, it becomes dangerous, as we see. There's one, there's two, achieved for his third of the round. Static gets one on the back end of blue. But he now has to find another 3 players. The default up throughout that whole time as well to help lead into the kills achieved pulled together there. It's just these little mistakes that have cursed the day of Sandbox and continue to.
4-0, not ideal. No. Far from ideal.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
You're actually correct in the fact that a tactical timeout has been called, I believe. I mean, the microphone is down.
It had to be. It had to be.
No, we're continuing. No.
Wow. Okay.
They're pushing through, they're muscling through.
I mean, I guess it's down to them when they think the marker is. It's also, you know, it's a call on players. It's something that if you talk to coaches and players, they'll have different perspectives on when to call it. If you have a team that thinks that inside the kitchen they can cook the best recipe when the stress gets hot, fair enough. You have to let people work to their own dynamics. It's something that I know Lax talked about when he went to Elevate. If we're going to talk about these sort of the APAC region, the American region, is one of the problems that he thought that they sort of had sometimes was not knowing when to call timeouts, not knowing that it can be a big factor of a game. It really varies from team to team. We can make assumptions on when we would do it, but at the same time, these are the pros, and if they don't feel like it's time to do it, you sometimes have to trust them and say, okay, prove us wrong.
I mean, they will know better than we do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is their job. They have done this many, many times before. Maybe not these same stakes that we have currently for a team like Sandbox, but, you know, they've called in plenty of tactical timeouts during APAC North, so. With that being said, they continue on their attack once more. Again, I do feel like it should be more attacking sided than it currently is, especially with the bans. Lots of heartbeat.
It should
open.
be. It's also worth noting
open.
This is 11 rounds in a row Sandbox have lost now.
Yeah, that is very true. So they're not in the best form. But that kind of makes me afraid of what is left for the next half of the game.
That's it. They have to try and break this deadlock. It's not just a matter of losing a game. It's not just a matter of losing the rounds in the opening half here. It threads for the whole day. That's this best of one system. That's the competition. That's the group stages. If you lose things on the first day, you can claw your way back. But if you lose things on a deficit of that many rounds, I mean, how do you claw yourself back? That is a monumental task.
You kind of asked it after the previous game Sandbox lost. How do you claw back? It's like, maybe you don't. For now, they haven't been able to claw back yet. They are trying to play their game, and there's definitely moments of potential. I mean, Charles is trying to find himself a way in. He's gotten 4 kills. Static is finding 3. It's just that the rest of the team not truly connecting. But not really sharp enough. I'm not sure what it is. Gasher finds Static. That's your Thermite gone, hoping that they've opened up what they wanted to open up. And Good Boy, luckily, finds a trade, though.
Finally finds his first kill of the game as well. Bolo's going to see how long he can stick it out here. Pops up and gets popped down. Good Boy gets his second. Suddenly, they've got a little bit of force here. They've been in a body advantage position before. They've been in one that they got quite early on, and the round still went away from them, though. They know the job is far, far, far from done. The pings on the kit, the reveal just on where it was. I talked about this before, once upon a time, that the isolation of a player on those balconies turns into a bit of a sort of ranged pickup. MV Taylor suffers on the walk round. Do they know about achieved?
Oh, yes, they do.
Yes is the answer. Good Boy gets his technical third, but I don't think he gets rewarded for that kill. It'll be whoever downed him.
Whoever got that injury will be granted that kill, but the diffuser still dropped on the floor. Sandbox, you do not need to push that diffuser now. Yes, it is the eventual goal, but if you're all going to be rappelling up on the jacuzzi balcony, that's how you're going to be losing this game. You need to be using your man advantage right now to actually push the site. Like, you have the diffuser. Let MV Taylor deal with it alone. He is an experienced player. Just make sure you create some space for him, because for now, Snake still holding on. Gasher gets injured, though, and that means it is an effective 1-on-4 situation now. Surely, there's no way they lose this with 10 seconds left.
I mean, they have to try and knock this one home right now. There's the first for Snake. Very quick response from Sandbox. 11 rounds in a row between the first round they won at the start of the day and their second across the 2 games. Where do they go from here? They didn't take the tack timeout. The mic is down now, so maybe this is the moment. It seems like.
Yes.
Yeah.
The coach is talking. That means it is the time. For 45 seconds on the clock. See if there is going to be something to push them towards a second round, because they need it. They need it to stay competitive in this game. They need it to find themselves with an opportunity to fight for a point. Maybe more than that. But TSM overall, they have been looking unbeatable for Sandbox.
I think it's sort of that big amount of pressure they put down. Obviously, we're looking at the team. You know, Achieved is running away in terms of the KD a little bit at the minute. He was 8-1 and then got caught out to become 8-2. 8-2,
yes.
A 4.0 KD at this point in the game is still pretty good, only dying twice. Bolo also has a huge amount of people that he's been able to put down. Not quite as many, I believe. But still, great progress.
It is progress. Good progress.
5-5.
Yeah, so he's been getting one every round so far. It's decent, you know. 1 KPR is generally considered good.
You wouldn't say no to it.
You wouldn't say no to it.
You wouldn't say no.
I wouldn't say no to that. That means you're always carrying your own weight in each and every round, right? So at least you get your kill to some extent. Sandbox is struggling with that a little bit more. The Monty is being brought out, though. They have realized it is going to be CCTV and cash. The last time we had Merc healing himself through the fire every single time they brought it. So what do you do instead? You just push a Monty in their face. There's not much you can do about that. You can stim yourself, but that's not going to be helping you against the Monty like that. And they hope that they can relocate Merc as a result of it. Either force him to jump down or go back towards the site, so you have their garage under control. Because for everybody that is new, or for everybody that doesn't watch comp as often, is just playing casually, the steps for Clubhouse CCTV are simple.
Yes.
First, you open up the garage or you open up the balcony, whichever one it is. After that, you open up the other. Simple.
Yeah.
Then you take control of garage. When you have control of garage, you can go for a plant, and there's almost nothing they can do if there is no C4s coming in from below. That's basically going to be it. So Sandbox, they struggle with taking control of garage. The solution for that is going to be the Monty. Is going to be pushing up the staircase, going to be pushing up the mezzanines, trying to push Merc out of his position. You just need to make sure, though, that there is no support coming through from, for example, the oil pit that can take him out if he starts to move up. But this should be a relative clear-cut push from that Montaigne onto Merc.
Bolo can rotate. Has the C4, has the option to hit towards oil pit if he wants to. He's currently watching just towards the Adam jump-in window and seeing if anybody wants to get the width on that side. But the sooner Monty makes the movement up the stairs, the safer he will be. Achieved is keeping the watch down above stock. He has the eyes in the sky, and he's hoping he can get a spray through that soft and punish anybody that might try and drift their way through. There's the ping on the drone. He was thinking about maybe shooting it through. And Taylor saying, no, not here.
He's trying to maybe negotiate a bit of a peace here between Merc and himself. Like, if you just fall back, like, we'll let you live for now. Alright, the garage is going to get opened up, and that is going to be opening an extra opportunity to put pressure down onto the dock. Also, what you see is a nade operator pushing in from that bridge we just saw. Toss it right up onto that dock. His position. And you take him out as a result of it. There's also no ADSs currently in play for TSM, so those grenades do not have an excuse to not find a kill onto a player on the rafters out there.
When do you do it, Bolo? That's sort of what he's thinking here. He obviously still has the C4. He's above soft. If they have to try and throw themselves in, he is a deterrent, and he is a very dangerous one. In the meantime, MV Taylor's making friends at the top. He drops the shield at the worst possible time.
That was a Sophia stun that killed him.
It was Sophia on the far end. Shile, unfortunately, poorly timed. Snake does the jump out. We sort of put a proposition for on the previous time we were in this round. He waited and baited and finally made it. He was able to get that kill and that connection. They lose 2 big fights. Arakaze finds Merc in the meantime. Shile, he doesn't quite get the kill onto Snake, who's just hopped up on the table. The smoke doesn't roll its way through. The second at least finds the distance. They've got to try and push themselves towards the plant opportunity, but there's still a C4 in Bolo's pocket. It's what I talked about before. It's always still going to be a danger. Look at him just waiting underneath. The kill comes over onto the cover. There's that C4, and there is a 5-1 TSM half.
I was so confused where the stun on the Monty came from. I'm like, there's no Echo, there's no Ella. No, it was this Zofia that shot in. The concussion from the breach actually forced the Monty to, well, sideswipe the shield, which allowed for the kill to come through. It's not quite a team kill, but it's basically the same thing in this kind of situation right here. And they basically had everything they wanted. I don't even know where you wanted to go for a stun at that point, because you know where he is. He's being pushed back. Just get a grenade in from underneath.
The only thing I can think is if they thought somebody might have just been close on the hop and they were trying to get a proximity stun on somebody on the door. But then why wouldn't you go through the drone hole?
That's it, right? You saw it on the replay there again. It was just shot in all the way wide through the garage window or the little rotation that is out there. So
yeah, the only thing I can think is if they were trying to use it to check, I wouldn't expect it to have been a check onto garage because MV Taylor was in there and he can call that nobody's there.
Yeah, so
the only thing I can think is hop. But, you know, again,
it's a mistake that's made, but
it's something that's happened from Sandbox throughout the day. It's the little mistakes have really cost them in big ways in moments where they might have been able to thread something else together.
It's still so hard to me. It's like that Monty that should have been the solution of forcing Merc out of his position, and kind of just throw him under the bus with that concussion there. Right away, quick entry from Merc. Drone is out ahead of him as well. There is going to be a shield he needs to deal with. We'll do that quickly with that breaching charge. Smoke canister comes out. Oh, actually got caught off by the beam there, so the explosion never came through in the shield.
Yeah, shield's going to stay standing. I'm not sure about how much of a read they got about that, if there was enough cover in terms of the explosion and the audio back and forth. We know the drone got caught, and MV Taylor almost got caught as well. There's players all around him. Are they trying to circle? It seemed like no. I thought they might be heading towards Adam. The hit on the air jab. Nobody to punish him for it, though.
At least that has been cleared out, right? So they don't need to worry about that air jab anymore. Schal is also rotating out, doesn't want to stick around, and TSM now slowly taking control of that first floor, having the opportunity to fight for the hatches. Black cards are being taken out as well, so that is less information into the pockets of Sandbox. I believe there's only one player currently still about on that roam, and that is going to be Static. Now, is there drones chasing him? As he drops down into the bar, he needs to be careful because there is definitely players around these doorways that could punish him for it.
I mean, fair enough. You see what comes instantly behind them. This is a thorough clear from TSM. They entirely knew where the players had stuck themselves, and they made sure to force them out with the pressure and presence of let's hit them hard, fast, and aggressive. A minute 30, and they've been able to get some control over the top two floors and start trying to potentially angle themselves down. You can see the final check is just here on the back end. It's still steady across a just entirely encompassing drone game.
Chief checking, seeing if there's any black eyes, you know, that could be guiding some of these nitrous cells to be tossed up. What I do not know, though, is that there is already one pre-place, and as soon as they start opening up onto the actual staircase, that might blow up. And fine, Polo! That is the shutdown. That is the entry that they need. And now they need to play this number advantage game on the side of Sandbox to ensure themselves a second round.
Yeah, they lose Bolo, which, as we said, is the 1.0 KPR gunner. That's been a big drive for the team. They also lose the Selmas. We saw at least one of them used before on the breach and the pressure on the top. They have the thermite. They have one more breach that they can do. They're concerned about the angles. They have to make sure that this does not get tricked off. And can it be? Well, not in the actual usual way. The C4 is all but used up. They're just going to have to see if they can try and spray it out. There's a caution to the wind paid. The roll of the grenade is going to start to see if it can pitter-patter on the back line. 15 seconds, and the pressure has to come now. Snake gets dropped. Shile caught one round. There's Merc on the swing. Does not quite get his gun out in time with an MV Taylor kill on the far end. Flawless from Sandbox to double their performance from earlier on in the day to find their second round here.
Well done. A good bait as well coming down to find Bolo by putting up that C4, making sure that they were able to go for a proper reply. It wasn't in the usual spot, just a little bit besides that. That allowed them to surprise. Now, gym and bedroom next. Not wanting to go for CCTV. Mentioned before, it is probably one of the most known sites in Siege currently to attack due to that simple step-by-step plan that is almost going to be foolproof. And does they want to go for gym instead? After that, we might see bar or CCT come through. Sandbox still hasn't decided on that. Well, they might have. We just don't know it yet. But what we do see is that Frost to come through.
He's trying.
I mean, they might have decided.
He's just guessing the future.
I mean, you did ask before, what are you going to do with the 3 seconds in the future I could do?
Yeah, and you said
not
nothing.
far enough. I mean, you know, it's still like at least 3 minutes out.
Yeah. That's why I'm not estimating.
Yeah.
You're crazy. You're a loose cannon.
But the Frost coming through.
Yeah.
The Frost mats, the welcome mats are going to be...
Zephyr change from Snake.
Tactical.
Tactical 6-pick.
Yeah, there's nothing more we can say about that. That is just a masterclass in repicking.
All right. We still talked about how good the attack could be based on the bans. The limitation of the bandit on the back end, the Kaid still technically on the board, but so is Thatcher, and so is the drive to getting Hard Breach open. This is a site that is probably going to reveal that more than the basement, and this is something where it's down to TSM to reveal that. There is the extension. The traditional one over to the side of CC, Shyle playing around the top of red. He's waiting for maybe a fight to swing its way up, but instead has the ADSs, the shield, and the capped idea. The breach from the Thermite is prepped and ready to go, and Bolo is doing the same thing. He wants to move instantly behind this. He's hoping to get the strike on the back end. He's concerned he might be being watched here, but look at this. Snake, he's prepped around Adam to push his way up. They're getting the breach onto the main wall of CC at the same time. Bolo goes for the swing. Achieved isn't too far away if he needs to drop in. There it is. The reveal. They're really trying to make this strike fast.
Yeah, they want to be pushing up quickly. Grenades are being tossed out, but Achieved has been taken out first. Good boy. With another kill to come through. Now it's going to be crucial for them to hold the garage as Bolo falls as well. They know that the remaining TSM players are all around that breach that has just been made. So all they need to do is hold down that left mouse button, make sure they cannot push through. And that's exactly what Sandbox is doing right now.
When do you go, Snake? That's the worry. The blinds come through. And when do you go? Good boy. He's tucked on the side and no idea that the player was looping up. I think he got one trace bullet at the end there, but still, for the work that had been done in that position, Good Boy is actually the one that escaped. Shyle was the one that was caught, unfortunately lacking in that top position. They get the clear on it. They also lost Bolo and Achieved. They lose a little bit more of that stretch on Hard Breach. They lose a little bit of that external pressure they could have applied. And the 2 grenades, I think the first was being cooked just as they got swung.
Consistency as well. Those 2 players, they have been able to find kills in almost every single round. As the breach now comes through into Jacuzzi, at least it gives them another opportunity to start pushing through. Single EP was enough. The big question is, are they aware of the fact that the Frost is currently on the board? Because if not, those Frost mats might actually be catching off 1 or 2 more TSM players. And if that's the case, this round will definitely go to Sandbox.
Mercs trying to get a gift of a fight here. There's the player tucked into the middle of the site. Arakazu's on the back stairs, and MV Taylor's behind the chassis, so he has some safety. The fire forces 1 bit of movement, but Merc cannot quite get the connection for the next. It's MV Taylor that wins it out. Gasher, he's trying to bite his way into sight, but as soon as they realize it, well, Snake out of nowhere gets the quad on the back end, but it's the fire that ends the slithering of a man who almost aced that round back into a bit of hope. Sandbox.
They get another round here. They're second onto the defense. They can't really blame Snake there. I mean, the entire, like, both sides were completely on fire. Like, there was
nowhere to go
space.
in that chaos to be able to pull the triple kill.
That was already a surprise. Him somehow dodging all that fire, that would have been impossible. Like, he almost managed to get away with it, but not this time. And that pushes Sandbox up to 5-3. There's still full points to play for here. That's exactly what they are going for. Nothing is lost. Nothing is gained as of yet, except for improvement compared to that first game they played during the Major. 2 extra rounds they have on the board now. And they're looking to make that more. They're looking to turn that into a point or more. Of course, they want to take a full win here. Find those 3. Put themselves back into the competition right after they, well, lost so extremely earlier today.
Obviously, TSM still have their attack timeout if they want to take it. If this round goes away from them, maybe they will. Just because the other is the decider of, you know, if they find themselves on even footing, it's a few rounds that could have slipped away. And it's also the tertiary site, the 3-site rotation put together. Bolo opens up the connection onto construction on the far end. They're isolating that play and position early and making it a little bit awkward for the rotations to come through. It's something that TSM have paid keen awareness to, is limiting the places that Sandbox can go.
TSM is very quick with opening up the defaults here. They're making sure that they give themselves as many opportunities as early on as possible. Also, in the meantime, Taylor's being droned out. He finds Snake, though. He's hoping to lean back into the fight for a second. Finds Bolo. Now takes out a drone, instant nitro to come through, but that won't catch anybody. But the damage has already been done, and he's still out and about, and I believe... No, he doesn't have that diffuser. I was going to say, does he have diffuser out there as well? But no, that's in the hands of Gasher. But he's rotating down towards the ground floor, hoping to rotate back towards CCTV, where it can turtle in with a 2-minute advantage.
I mean, that's a player that you can see the energy in their movements. They are sick of losing rounds. And they're going to make sure that every single one from this point onwards for TSM isn't just a fight, it is a war. Sandbox, they have the 2-body advantage. They have themselves about 1:30 to see if they can hold on to it. As you said, some of the pace that's otherwise come through here from the side of TSM means that at least they have a good amount of ground taken. The pressure is angling themselves up for this take onto the construction side. That's probably all. They're going to be able to thread themselves in. They still obviously have 1 exothermic in the pocket of Gasher. It's going to be used here. It's the easier push to make connect. There's the roll, the claw. The next one won't quite get it in time. And the breach is open.
Gives them another opportunity, an extra long line of sight from that bedroom all the way into the cash room. However, that's not their biggest issue on TSM. The issue is that there's way too many players currently about from Sandbox, and there's no one out onto the actual balcony to put some pressure down from opposite angles, which means that, well, Taylor, he's just having free reign right here. He doesn't have to worry about any other player trying to put up some pressure to him. And if they do, well, that repel sound will be heard, and he has plenty of time to rotate out.
That's it. He was in a bit of a tight spot. I think he realized as soon as the drone was going to come round, it's going to turn into a different kind of fight. Gasher gets good boy on the swing round. Merc's hoping to get lucky, but unfortunately doesn't have the connection. Being electrified slowly and steadily, cannot sit in that position because of the claw that got thrown out late. The drone on the player, the reveal of the Valkyrie, that grenade bounced around. They got to try and limit the angles they can get taken from, and that's a big play. 3 versus 3, 15 seconds achieved. The door's locked, but you got some support from the opposite swing. Merc over the top, gets one of the bodies onto red, but it's the backstairs, and TSM just slink around that last couple of kills. Merc, 2 on one side, 1 on the other, and when you need him, he's there.
It really looked like it would have been a Sandbox round, especially with Taylor taking out 2 players that early on the opposite side of the map. Yes, a lot of preparation had already been done, and this is why it's important to get that preparation done as quickly as possible. You keep your options open, and TSM showed what they can do with those options. Truly used every single wall they breached to find themselves in a bit of an advantage right here. Isolated those players, droned them out as well. They saw 2 are in red, 1 is going to be in the garage at that point. You are going to be able to just go for that rush. You need to go for those kinds of challenges. You see it happen right here. Achieve with the grenade kill, and instantly Merc and Achieve both pushing for the red stairs, knowing full well that the last player would be in garage after that. So TSM, they clutched it out well. Good team play coming through. Good calls from the shot caller in IGL. And now they're a match point. 1 point is already on the board, looking to find and make it 3. And they have 3 rounds to do so.
All right, Sandbox, where was that energy? That was almost the perfect rotation there of the 3 sites. That was almost that bit of pressure, but a big moment from Merc was that difference maker there. They just tucked in on a corner that you didn't quite expect. We have seen more energy from the side of Sandbox. It's in a sort of an awake and aware play that for people that get to watch them week in, week out, you expect them to hit at majors. The consistency of not getting there is unfortunate, but it's still an option. It's still always a possibility. They have to try and throw everything they've got here at the final 3 rounds. TSM at the same time, they've started to find a bite. Maybe they've started to piece together some of these plays. Maybe they realize sometimes you just got to go ham in the final 15 seconds.
That's it, right? Sometimes you just need to full send it. That is the only option every now and then. BDS are masters of that as well, just sending in Shaiko and Likafak to go for kills. TSM now had to go for it. They did it successfully. And now they find themselves on match point. 3 opportunities to lock it off and find themselves a 3-pointer here against Sandbox. And with that, truly putting themselves in a good spot to make it towards the playoffs after having been absent of the international stage for so long.
The IQ doing all the busy work. They're, I guess, concerned about the play and the reveal of the intel that was revealed about them on the approach before, it did seem like Sandbox had a good awareness, and this is just one less factor of that. Obviously, the C4 was an early catch. That shouldn't happen this time round with the IQ busying their way across the board. The slight damage done towards the hatch underneath.
They left the hatch soft, which means that we will not see any exothermic use to get rid of it.
We might see a C4, though.
We might see a C4 trying to bait out the sledge to open up. And oh, he's using a grenade. That's smart. I was going to say, Chief, you're doing that well, because if you're going out there, you can bet that that C4 is going to be tossed right afterwards.
Yep, there it is, but Achieved has long since left. They learnt a harsh lesson taught with the punctuation of an explosive put underneath their feet. So this time they're not going to suffer the same thing. A minute left. They've got themselves the top 2 floors. Now it's just the basement, the big bastion of defense that it is. Can they try and clear their way? It seems like they want to angle up for the church take onto pipes. The danger of the flirtation of the soft there means you do have to do some work on the opposite side. Achieved is happy to sort of sit in and start smashing his way through. There's not quite a full confidence here of Achieved wanting to roll that grenade. It bounces close to Arakaze, but they're still safe. Here's that pressure I talked about onto Church. The drop instantly onto Mogto. They're going to try and swing around. Snake's holding onto the back of the blue. They've popped the mirror window. They're trying to pop the player behind it. They're tucked around on the opposite side. Takes a bit of breach. It's Static. Pops up with Arakaze for the shoulder cover. Bolo suffers, and Gash is going to try and move back into the space. But Static with the shotgun lock. There's Shyle getting control back of blue. There's at least one back for Bolo. Has to find 4 more. Cannot. And Sandbox lock it down.
A very difficult side to attack, the basement. The only real entry point you have is going to be 3 hatches. And besides that, a couple of staircases. So you're only always finding yourself in a bit of a disadvantage on descending onto the site, whereas, you know, your legs will always show up before you can shoot back at them. Now, TSM, I believe, have called a timeout.
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
They still have the chance of 2 rounds. They've also the awareness that it was a clutch that might have brought things closer to level at this point, and you know, it's something where they're missing a trick, they're missing a connection. It was late towards the push. It's the site where the push is often latest.
Yeah, I mean, it is that basement. I said it before. It is a very difficult site to attack because you only have a couple of entrance points, right? It's not like you're able to fight your way into it horizontally, except for maybe Dirt Tunnel, and at the same time, the oil pit. However, those are so far away and are like so small and minuscule that it's very, very claustrophobic to have a bit of a gunfight there. You want to open yourself a bit more space if you're an attacker. You do not want to limit yourselves to narrow hallways because it's just a very difficult fight to take.
All TSM have ahead of them now is just the 1 round they need. The fact that there is 2 that Sandbox have to thread, including potentially a site that they've already lost, that's that danger. That's that terrifying fear of Sandbox have to play just as perfect as you do. However, you know that the attacks have not quite been what got you to this point. It was a very strong defense half of 5-1, and it might be being done back against you.
It is, and I mean, Sandbox, we have to give them the credit. They were able to find those 2 early kills on this CCTV hold, which unfortunately for them, they were unable to actually translate into a round victory. Now, if they were, this would have been a different story. It would have been 5-5 as we speak, and this round could have been decisive on who gets that first point, who has the opportunity to fight for the full 3. So TSM, they really managed to make an important clutch happen there. And with that said, they need to make sure that they find 1 more round to go their way. And they're hoping to do that on this top floor gym rather than CCTV. Now, openings need to happen first. There's still some preparative work to be done as Envy is still, well, putting down some of these welcome mats to hopefully catch off some of the TSM players.
There's the awareness. There's that sort of breach of broach of the game that's being played and extending. Sandbox, the thing, or one of the things I really love about them is the growth that they put in. It's fair enough to compliment teams when they sort of have responses to it, but Sandbox are more than happy to sort of upheave everything. It's like a Swiss Army knife of a team. They have so many operators in the bank they're more than happy to pull from, which comes from the experience of being one of the most experienced teams on a LAN situation. Here, now, over the top, you can see TSM. They're trying to get a bit of a sneaky play underneath. This grenade does connect perfectly with Static.
And that is going to be very painful for Sandbox here. They need to keep control of their players and of their ground for as long as they possibly can, especially if an operator has a nitro cell in pocket. We've seen them be so important, round defining even at times. There's a second grenade to be tossed in. Envy moved in, but moved back into the fire right afterwards. Not taking any damage though, stays alive, but he's being droned out. And a massive difference between TSM and Sandbox is going to be the drone economy. Look at it, 7 drones still left with 1:15 on the clock. There's a lot of information here for TSM to work with.
They've just got to try and make that connection. They've got to do it alongside the time. Look how much grenade fishing they're doing. That's all of them, though, at this point. They tried to make all of them connect underneath instead of going for a direct round on the top. The breach is there. They can see if they can maybe put some pressure onto the swing behind it. The pings the player inside the bathroom. I believe that was Hibana pellets on that wall as well. What can they do on the pinch and the push? MV Taylor finds Merc. Removes the Thatcher, seems to lean back into a fight. Achieved wants to be a bit of a response here. As long as MV's in this position, regardless of the pings, you've got to try and force the player out. 40 seconds. And the time ticks steadily further and further away from TSM.
At this point, the flashbangs need to be the difference maker here. It's the only piece of utility they still have left on TSM. They need to isolate the player, either in the bathroom or in the logistics side of things to open up truly. The first flashbang comes through, but the ADSs are going to be catching him. Marikazi finds the kill to Bolo. That might be differentiating.
Snake gets shy. They're going to try and have a big blowout fight here, and you've got to remember where the kit is. Gash has got it in pocket. Onside Jacuzzi, an important fight to win, but MV Taylor wins one back. Reloads, caught out. Snake is able to get one more. Good boy. The young prodigy is the only player left for the hopes here of Sandbox pulling any points from their first day. The cover is not his to take. TSM just push it over the line in the dying throws. Take the 3 points, take the game. Sandbox showed up, but unfortunately it was in the second half of the second game, and it's a bit too late to take anything from the first day.
It is. There is going to be 0 points for Sandbox, but at least the improvement and the shown potential they have. Round 9, for example, on CCTV could have been theirs if only they were a bit more spread out, if only they didn't lose those first initial fights to grenades. And round 11 as well, I mean, the one we just seen could have just as well gone the other way if Good Boy would have decided to go through logistics rather than the construction door. And that means Sandbox is going to be leaving with 0 points. Unfortunately, they'll not be happy with that, but mentioned before, still plenty of time to come back. 4 more games to play.
Yeah, it's a frustrating day at the office here for Sandbox. Obviously, when you're sort of seeing what's happened throughout the region earlier on throughout this, you're trying to find just a route